My name is Dr. Sarah Chin. For 12 years my family believed I was a failure. A dropout. Someone who couldn't hack it in the real world. They had no idea I'd been saving it. If you've ever been the family punchline, hit that like button and subscribe right now. You're not going to want to miss what happened next. Growing up in Chicago's suburbs, family hierarchy was clear. Jennifer was the star. Straight A's without trying, varsity volleyball captain, homecoming queen. She married Ryan Mitchell, a corporate lawyer, at 24. They had 2 perfect children and a perfect house in a perfect suburb. I was the weird one. The kid who brought library books to family barbecues. The teenager who spent lunch periods in the computer lab instead of the cafeteria. The daughter who asked too many questions and never quite fit. Sarah's brilliant, Dad would say, but she lacks common sense. Book smart, not street smart. Mom's version was gentler. Sarah just sees the world differently. She's special. The word families use when they mean difficult. I got into MIT at 17. Full scholarship. Computer science and bioengineering double major. My family came to orientation, took photos in front of the Great Dome, and Dad pulled me aside. Don't waste this opportunity trying to prove something, he said. Just get your degree, get a good job at Google or Microsoft. Stable. Secure. I nodded. I already knew I wouldn't. At MIT I found my people. Professor Elena Rodriguez ran the computational biology lab, working on algorithms that could predict disease outbreaks. I joined her team freshman year, spending 70-hour weeks coding predictive models while my roommate went to parties. You're missing college, she'd say, concerned. I'm building something that matters, I'd reply. By junior year I'd co-authored 3 papers. By senior year I'd developed an algorithm that could predict viral mutation patterns with 76% accuracy, unheard of at the time. The CDC noticed. So did the WHO. Professor Rodriguez wanted me to stay for a PhD. My family wanted me to get a real job. Sarah got accepted to MIT's doctoral program, Mom announced at Thanksgiving. Pride in her voice finally. How much longer in school? Uncle Tom asked. You're already 21. 5, maybe 6 years, I said. The table went quiet. Jennifer exchanged looks with Ryan. 6 more years. Dad's fork paused midair. Sarah, you need to start your career. Jennifer was already working at your age. This is my career, Dad. Disease prediction algorithms could save millions of lives. That's wonderful, honey, Mom said in that tone that meant it wasn't wonderful. But you also need to think practically. Marriage, children, stability. Jennifer leaned in, voice syrupy. Sarah, you're so smart. But maybe it's time to join the real world? Ryan's firm is always looking for IT support. I could ask. I'm not doing IT support, I said quietly. I'm researching pandemic prevention. Pandemic prevention. Dad laughed, not unkindly. Sarah, when was the last major pandemic? These are fantasy scenarios. Get a job that pays real money now, not theoretical money someday. I stayed at MIT. Got my PhD in 4 years instead of 6, fueled by spite and coffee. Published 12 papers. Developed models that could predict disease spread patterns based on travel data, climate conditions, and genetic sequencing. I was 25, had a doctorate from MIT, and my family still introduced me as Sarah, she's still in school. After my PhD, I took a position at the CDC in Atlanta. Not glamorous, not lucrative. Government salary, shared apartment with 2 roommates. Budget that didn't include fancy dinners or designer clothes. At Jennifer's housewarming party for their second home, a lake house, relatives cornered me. Still with the government? Aunt Linda asked. Don't they pay terribly? It's enough, I said. Jennifer's doing so well, she continued. Ryan just made partner. They're thinking about a vacation home in Tuscany. I smiled. That's great for them. What I didn't say, I was leading a team of 40 researchers. We were building the world's most sophisticated disease surveillance network, tracking viral mutations in real time across 6 continents. My algorithms had already predicted 3 minor outbreaks before they became regional epidemics. But I drove a 10-year-old Honda and shopped at Target, so clearly I was failing. When I was 28, I left the CDC. Not for failure, for opportunity. A tech billionaire named Marcus Webb had read my papers and wanted to fund something bigger. He offered me $200 million to build a private research institute focused on pandemic prevention and response. I called it the Global Health Security Initiative. GSI for short. I didn't tell my family. By then I'd learned they measured success by visible markers. Houses, cars, vacation photos on Instagram. My work was invisible to them because it lived in computer models, research papers, and quiet government briefings. I let them think I was doing consulting work and some research projects. Sarah's still figuring things out, Mom would say at family gatherings. Not mean. Just, it resigned. Over the next 4 years, GSI grew. We hired 120 researchers from 16 countries. We built partnerships with the WHO, CDC, and health ministries worldwide. We developed AI systems that could detect unusual disease patterns within hours instead of weeks. We identified and helped contain 4 potential epidemics before they made international news. A novel influenza strain in Vietnam. A drug-resistant bacteria in Bangladesh. 2 separate viral mutations that could have gone airborne. Nobody knew. That was the point. The best pandemic response is the one that happens before anyone realizes there was a threat. Forbes ran a profile on me when I was 30. The woman building the world's pandemic defense system. My family didn't see it. They didn't read Forbes. Jennifer read Real Simple and Architectural Digest. I still lived modestly. My apartment was nice but small. I worked 80-hour weeks. I hadn't dated seriously in years. At family events, I was the spinster aunt, the workaholic sister, the daughter who never settled down. Sarah's married to her work, Uncle Tom would joke. He meant it as an insult. I took it as truth. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from tonight. In November, 4 years after founding GSI, our algorithms detected something unusual. A respiratory virus in Wuhan, China. Not confirmed yet. Just patterns. Travel data showing unusual hospital visits. Social media posts mentioning respiratory symptoms. Genetic sequences uploaded to medical databases showing a novel coronavirus. This one's different, I told my team. The mutation rate. The transmission pattern. This could be bad. We alerted the WHO on December 1st. They investigated. On December 31st, China officially reported the outbreak. By January, I knew we were facing a global pandemic. Our models predicted 3.2 million deaths worldwide if containment failed. Possibly more. I called the White House, the CDC, the WHO, anyone who would listen. Dr. Chen's models have been accurate before, the CDC director told the National Security Council. We should take this seriously. Some did. Most didn't. It's just another flu, they said. She's being alarmist. I wasn't being alarmist. I was being right. As the virus spread, first China, then Iran, then Italy, I stopped sleeping. GSI became command central for pandemic response coordination. We shared our predictive models with governments. We helped identify high-risk regions. We worked with pharmaceutical companies on vaccine development logistics. I didn't call my family. There wasn't time. In March, when the world finally understood what was happening, my phone rang. Jennifer. Sarah, are you okay? This virus thing is scary. Ryan thinks we should buy extra supplies. Do you think it's that serious? Yes, I said, exhausted. It's that serious. Stock up on essentials. Stay home. This is going to get worse before it gets better. Worse? Sarah, you always catastrophize. Remember when you said, Jennifer, I have to go. I'm in the middle of something. You're always in the middle of something, she snapped. This is family. But fine, go back to your important work. She hung up. I went back to my screens, my models, my team working around the clock to help governments understand what was coming. By June, the world was in lockdown. 2 million dead globally. Economies shattered. Hospitals overwhelmed. My team had been working nonstop for 6 months. We'd helped coordinate testing protocols. Shared treatment data. Predicted hotspots before they exploded. Our vaccine development models had identified the most promising candidates, potentially saving months in the race for immunization. Governors called me. Presidents called me. I briefed the UN Security Council via Zoom at 3 a.m. My family called too. Once. In April. Sarah, can you get us masks? Mom asked. They're sold out everywhere and you work in medical stuff, right? I'm trying to prevent a global catastrophe, Mom. I can't source PPE for personal use. Well, excuse me for asking, she said, hurt. Jennifer said you'd probably say that. Said you've always been too focused on your career to help family. I wanted to scream. Instead I said, I'm sorry. I'll see what I can do. I had my assistant send them N95 masks from our research supply. They never said thank you. In August things stabilized slightly. Still terrible but manageable. The vaccine trials were promising. My team had been working 24/7 for 8 months. We were exhausted. That's when the invitation came. The Chin family reunion, scheduled for October, assuming the pandemic was over by then. Jennifer was organizing it. The email included a family directory. Names, occupations, achievements. Chin family directory. Asterisk Robert Chin, dad retired insurance executive. Asterisk Linda Chin, mom retired school counselor. Asterisk Jennifer Chin Mitchell, marketing director Johnson and Associates. Asterisk Ryan Mitchell, partner Mitchell and Roslaw. Asterisk Sarah Chin, unemployed/between positions. Unemployed. Between positions. I stared at the screen, then laughed, then cried, then laughed again. My assistant David walked in. Dr. Chin? The WHO director is online too. Tell him I'll call back in 5 minutes, I said. I need to process something. David glanced at my screen. Read the email. His face went carefully neutral. They don't know, he said. Not a question. They've never asked, I replied. The reunion was Jennifer's baby. She'd rented a country club, hired a catering company, created a Facebook event page. 200 relatives from across the country, all coming together for the first big family gathering since the pandemic started. It'll be safe by October, she declared on the planning committee Zoom. And we all need this. We need to celebrate family, resilience, survival. She put me on the setup committee. Sarah, you're not working right now anyway. You'll have time to help. I'm actually very busy. Doing what? Jennifer's smile was sharp. Sarah, it's okay to admit you're struggling. The pandemic has been hard on everyone. Especially people without stable careers. I muted my mic, counted to 10. I'll help where I can, I said finally. The planning meetings were torture. Jennifer discussing seating arrangements while I had government briefings about vaccine distribution. Aunt Linda debating centerpiece options while I reviewed mortality projections for the winter surge. At one meeting, Mom brought up the family directory again. Sarah, honey, I put you down as between jobs because I didn't know what else to write. Are you doing any consulting work? Even part-time work we can list. The Zoom grid showed 25 relatives, all looking at me with sympathy. Poor Sarah. Can't catch a break. I'm working, I said carefully. Full-time. More than full-time actually. Oh, that's wonderful. Where? An organization focused on global health. Like a hospital? Aunt Mary asked hopefully. Something like that. Are they hiring? Cousin Brad jumped in. I got laid off in March. Could use a connection. Look into it, I said. Jennifer unmuted. Well, whatever it is, I'm sure it's keeping you busy. But Sarah, try to take care of yourself too. You look exhausted. I looked at my reflection in the Zoom window. Dark circles under my eyes. Hair pulled back in a messy bun. No makeup. Wearing a Jisai hoodie that had coffee stains. He was right. I looked like hell. I'll try, I said. What I didn't say. I looked like hell because I'd been awake for 36 hours straight coordinating vaccine trial data. Because my team had just helped identify a mutation that could affect vaccine efficacy. Because I'd spent the morning on a call with pharmaceutical CEOs and the afternoon with epidemiologists in Mumbai. But sure, Jennifer. I try to take care of myself. Hit that subscribe button if you've ever had to prove yourself to people who couldn't see your worth. Because what happened next changed everything. In September, a journalist from Time magazine contacted me. They were doing a year-end piece on the pandemic response. Who got it right, who got it wrong, what lessons we'd learned. We'd like to interview you, Dr. Chin, she said. Your organization's work has been remarkable. Quiet but remarkable. I don't usually do press, I said. I understand. But people should know what GHSI did. You predicted this. You warned people. You helped save lives. I thought about it. About visibility. About whether my family knowing would even matter. Hey, I said. But I want accuracy. No sensationalism. Just the truth, she promised. The interview took 4 hours. We talked about the early warning signs. The resistance I'd faced. The models Jisai had built. The coordination work we'd done behind the scenes. Why didn't you go public earlier? She asked. If you'd done a media campaign, maybe more people would have listened. Because pandemic response isn't about credit, I said. It's about results. Every hour I spent doing interviews was an hour I wasn't spending solving problems. I chose problems. No regrets. I thought about my family's reunion directory. Unemployed/between positions. Some regrets, I admitted. But not about the work. The article came out in October. 3 days before the reunion. I didn't know they were considering me for anything bigger. Nobody at Jisai knew. October 10th. The country club was decorated with fall colors. Oranges, reds, yellows. 200 relatives milling around, catching up after months of isolation. Everyone masked initially, then gradually removing them to eat and drink. I arrived late. I'd had a morning call with vaccine manufacturers about production scaling. David had practically shoved me out of the office. Go, he said. See your family. Try to have fun. Fun, I repeated dubiously. Or at least enjoy proving them wrong, he said with a grin. I wore a simple black dress. Still had my Jisai lanyard in my bag. I'd come straight from the office. No time to go home and change properly. Mom hugged me at the door. Sarah, you made it. We were worried you'd bail. Wouldn't miss it, I lied. Jennifer was holding court at the main table, telling stories about her marketing campaigns. Ryan stood nearby, drink in hand, nodding along. Their kids ran around with other children, all adorably dressed. I headed for the buffet. Found Aunt Mary there loading her plate. Sarah, how are you, sweetie? Good. Busy. Still looking for work? Her voice was kind. Pitying. Actually, I'm employed. Have been for years. Oh, that's wonderful. What do you do? Research. Disease prevention. Like a lab technician? Something like that. She patted my arm. Well, that's good. Stable work is important. I moved to the drinks table. Poured sparkling water. Watched my family celebrate their successes, their stability, their visible achievements. Nobody asked about my work. Not specifically. They asked if I was doing okay, and if I needed anything, and if I'd thought about getting my real estate license like cousin Diane. I smiled. Said I was fine. Helped set up the dessert table when Jennifer needed assistance. Thanks, Sarah, she said absently. At least you're good for manual labor. I bit my tongue. Arranged cookies on a platter. That's when Aunt Mary screamed from the living room. Oh my God. Turn on the TV right now. Everyone rushed toward the sound. I stayed by the dessert table, heart suddenly pounding. I knew. Somehow I knew. Time magazine's Person of the Year announcement is happening. The TV was already on, news channel showing the Time magazine editor standing at a podium. The country club sound system amplified her voice across the venue. This year's Person of the Year goes to someone who saved millions of lives. Someone who saw what was coming and tried to warn us. Someone who worked behind the scenes without fanfare, without recognition, coordinating the global response to the greatest health crisis of our generation. My family crowded around the screens. I stood at the back, frozen. The 2020 Time magazine Person of the Year is Dr. Sarah Chin, director and founder of the Global Health Security Initiative. My photograph filled the screen. Professional headshot taken for the article. Behind it, images of GHSI's operations center. Screens showing disease models. My team working around the clock. The silence in the country club was absolute. Then Aunt Mary screamed again. That's our Sarah. Oh my God, that's Sarah. Everyone turned to look at me. 200 faces, all showing variations of the same expression. Shock. Jennifer's face had gone white. Mom's mouth hung open. Dad stood frozen, wine glass halfway to his lips. The TV continued. The editor was reading excerpts from the article. Dr. Chin predicted the pandemic in December, weeks before official announcements. Her organization's models accurately forecasted transmission patterns, mortality rates, and hotspot locations. She coordinated with governments worldwide, providing data and guidance that helped save an estimated 3.7 million lives in the first 6 months alone. When everyone else was caught off guard, the voice continued, Dr. Chin had been preparing for this moment for 12 years. She built the infrastructure, developed the algorithms, and created the response protocols that became the backbone of the global pandemic response. Images flashed on screen. Me briefing government officials. My team's operations center. Graphs showing lives saved through early intervention. At 32 years old, Dr. Sarah Chin represents the best of scientific dedication and humanitarian service. She is Time Magazine's 2020 Person of the Year. The TV cut to commercial. Everyone kept staring at me. I set down my sparkling water carefully. My hands were shaking. Jennifer found her voice first. You're Person of the Year. Apparently, I said quietly. But the directory said you were unemployed. I know what the directory said. Dad pushed through the crowd. His face was red, whether from embarrassment or emotion I couldn't tell. Sarah, you run DSI? That DSI? The organization that's been on the news. Stat. That DSI. For how long? 8 years. 4 years at CDC before that. 12 years total working on pandemic prevention. Mom's hand went to her mouth. But you never said. You never asked. My voice was calm. Steady. You assumed I was failing because I didn't have the markers of success you recognized. House, car, husband, expensive vacations. I had none of those things because I was building something else. Jennifer's face cycled through emotions. Shock, embarrassment, something that might have been anger. Why didn't you tell us? Tell you what? That I was working on pandemic prevention while you called it theoretical scenarios? That I was leading a $200 million research institute while you suggested I do IT support? That I was briefing presidents while you listed me as unemployed in the family directory? The crowd around us had grown silent. 200 relatives listening to every word. I didn't tell you, I continued, because I wanted to see if you'd value me without the accolades. I wanted to know if you'd love me even when you thought I was failing by your metrics. I wanted to see who you really were. My voice cracked slightly. I steadied it. You showed me. Every family gathering where you pitied me. Every conversation where you offered to help me find work. Every time you compared me to Jennifer and found me lacking. You showed me exactly what I was worth to you. Aunt Linda stepped forward. Sarah, honey, we didn't know. That's my point. I looked at her, at all of them. You didn't know because you didn't ask. You made assumptions. You saw what you expected to see, the weird daughter who couldn't quite succeed in the real world. Jennifer's voice was small now. We were worried about you. No, you were embarrassed by me. There's a difference. I pulled out my phone. It was exploding with notifications. Congratulations from colleagues, government officials, news outlets requesting interviews. The WHO director. The CDE. 3 different presidents. I need to go, I said. I have calls to make. Press briefings. Apparently being Person of the Year comes with obligations. Sarah, wait. Dad grabbed my arm. His grip was gentle but desperate. I'm sorry. We're sorry. We didn't understand. I looked at his hand on my arm. At his face, stricken, aging, full of regret. Dad, I spent 12 years trying to save the world from the exact pandemic that just killed 2 million people. And you thought I was unemployed. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a fundamental failure to see me. I pulled my arm back gently. I'm not angry. I'm just done. Done trying to prove I'm worthy of your attention. Done explaining my value to people who couldn't see it. Done being the family disappointment when I'm actually the family success story. You're not a disappointment, Mom said, tears streaming. You're amazing. You're a stranger, I finished. I'm a stranger to you. You know Jennifer's marketing campaigns but not my pandemic models. You know Ryan's law cases but not my research papers. You know the menu at Jennifer's favorite restaurant but not the name of the organization I founded. The truth hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. Uncle Tom, who joked about me being married to my work, stepped forward. Sarah, I'm sorry. We all are. We should have. You should have asked, I said simply. That's all. Just asked about my work. About my life. About what I was doing with my days. But you didn't because you'd already decided I was failing. My phone rang. I glanced at it. The White House. I really do have to go, I said. But thank you for the reunion. It was clarifying. I walked toward the exit. The crowd parted silently. 200 relatives watching Time magazine's Person of the Year leave their celebration. At the door I turned back. Jennifer stood at the front of the crowd, mascara running, face a mess of emotions. For what it's worth, I said, your marketing work is good, Jennifer. You're talented at what you do. But you taught me something important. That being the golden child was about fitting into expectations, not about actual achievement. I never fit your expectations, so you never saw my achievements. I see them now, she whispered. Now that Time magazine told you to, I replied. That's the problem. I left. The October air was cool, refreshing after the stuffy country club. My phone was still ringing. I answered. Dr. Chin? This is calling from the White House. The president would like to speak with you about your work. I walked to my car, the 10-year-old Honda that had embarrassed my family, and drove away from the reunion toward the work that actually mattered. The media storm was immediate and overwhelming. By the next morning, my face was on every news channel, every website, every social media platform. Time magazine's Person of the Year. The woman who predicted the pandemic. The scientist who saved 3.7 million lives. My family tried to call. Dozens of messages, voicemails, texts. From Mom. Sarah, please call us. We need to talk. We're so proud of you. From Dad, I can't believe we didn't know. I'm so sorry. Please let us make this right. From Jennifer, I was wrong about everything. Can we please talk? I didn't respond immediately. I was busy. Press conferences. Government briefings. Interviews with CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera. Everyone wanted to know about the woman who'd seen the pandemic coming. David fielded hundreds of interview requests. Dr. Chin, NBC wants an hour special. Netflix wants to do a documentary. There's a book deal offer for $3 million. No books yet, I said. The pandemic isn't over. We have work to do. But your family can wait, I said firmly. They've waited 12 years to see me. They can wait another few weeks while I do my actual job. 3 weeks later, when things calmed slightly, I finally called Dad. Sarah. His voice cracked. Thank you for calling. We've been so worried. I've been busy, Dad. Saving lives. You know, my theoretical scenarios. Silence. Then, I deserved that. You did. Can we see you? Can we talk? Please. I considered it. Thought about the family reunion, the directory listing me as unemployed, 12 years of dismissal and pity. Dad, what's my organization called? Say. The Global Health Security Initiative. What's my official title? Director and founder. How many lives did Time magazine say we saved? 3.7 million. His voice was quiet. Sarah, I know. No, Dad. You don't know. You know now because Time magazine told you. But you didn't know when it mattered. When I was building it, when I needed support, when I could have used family believing in me instead of pitying me. What can we do? He asked. How do we fix this? I don't know if you can, I said honestly. You didn't just miss my achievements. You missed me. For 12 years, you had a daughter working to prevent the exact catastrophe that killed millions of people, and you thought she was unemployed. That's not a small oversight, Dad. That's a fundamental failure to see who I am. I want to try, he said. Your mother, Jennifer, all of us. We want to know you. Really know you. Why now? I asked. Because I'm Person of the Year? Because suddenly I'm impressive enough to deserve your attention? Because we were wrong, he said simply. And we want to do better. I thought about it. About whether people could change. About whether family bonds could be rebuilt after being so thoroughly broken. Here's what I need, I said finally. I need you to understand that my value doesn't come from Time magazine's recognition. It comes from the work itself. The lives saved. The models built. The research published. All of it was meaningful before the magazine cover and will be meaningful after. I understand. I need you to understand that I'm not coming back to be the family redemption story. I'm not the prodigal daughter returning to prove she's finally worthy. I was always worthy. You just couldn't see it. I understand, he said again, voice thick with emotion. And I need time. Years of dismissal don't heal overnight because of one magazine cover. Whatever you need, Dad said. Whatever time you need. We'll be here. Will you? I asked. If I don't win any more awards? If the media moves on? If I go back to being invisible in my lab, working on the next pandemic you can't see yet? Will you still be here? Yes, he said. I promise. Promises don't mean much, Dad. Paper beats promises every single time. Show me through actions, not words. I will, he said. We all will. We talked for another hour. I told him about GHSI, about the work, about what the next 5 years looked like. He listened, really listened, asking questions, taking notes, trying to understand. It was a start. Just a start. The vaccine rollout happened faster than anyone expected. By fall 2021, global vaccination rates hit 60%. The pandemic shifted from crisis to management. Life started resembling normal again. GSI continued growing. We expanded to 400 researchers across 30 countries. Our models now tracked not just pandemics but also antibiotic resistance, bioterrorism threats, and climate-related disease patterns. Our budget hit $800 million annually, mostly from government contracts and private philanthropy. I won more awards. The Nobel Prize in Medicine. The Presidential Medal of Freedom. UN Champion of Global Health. My office wall filled with plaques and certificates I barely looked at. My family tried. Really tried. Dad flew to Atlanta once a month to have dinner with me. He'd ask about my work, listen to explanations of algorithms and mutation patterns, try to understand. Sometimes he got it. Sometimes he didn't. But he tried. Mom joined my organization's board as a community liaison. She didn't understand the science, but she understood people. She helped us communicate complex health information to non-scientists. Found her own role in the work. Jennifer and I rebuilt our relationship slowly. Coffee once a month, then twice. Tentative conversations about her marketing work and my research. Learning to see each other as adults, not as golden child and scapegoat. I was jealous, she admitted once. Even when I thought you were failing, I was jealous. You were doing something that mattered. My work is good, but it's not saving lives good. Your work matters, I said. Different work matters in different ways. But you're Person of the Year. And you're a mother raising good humans, I replied. The world needs both. She smiled. It was real this time. The extended family took longer. Some never really got it. They congratulated me on the awards but still didn't understand the work. That was okay. I stopped needing their understanding. Aunt Mary surprisingly became one of my biggest supporters. She volunteered at GHSI's community outreach programs, helping distribute health information during subsequent COVID surges. I'm making up for calling you a lab technician, she said with a rueful smile. The reunion the following year was different. No directory listing occupations. No comparing achievements. Just family being family with all the mess and complication that entailed. When someone asked what I did, I said simply, I work in disease prevention. She's too modest, Dad jumped in. She runs the world's leading pandemic prevention organization. She's the reason millions of people survived COVID. I put my hand on his arm. Dad, it's okay. You don't have to prove anything. I'm not proving, he said. I'm just proud. Really proud. Those words, which I'd wanted so badly for 12 years, felt different now. Good but not essential. I'd learned to be proud of myself without needing external validation. Thanks, Dad, I said. And meant it. If you've ever had to cut off toxic family or rebuild relationships after years of hurt, tell me your story in the comments. What would you have done? Does any of this feel familiar? I still work 80-hour weeks. Still live modestly. Upgraded to a nicer apartment but still drive the Honda. Still put the work first because that's who I am. Time magazine's cover hangs in my office, not because I need the validation, but because it reminds me that invisible work eventually becomes visible to those who matter. My team jokes that I'm the most famous person nobody recognizes. I can walk through airports, grocery stores, restaurants without being noticed. Perfect for someone who hates attention. But the work speaks for itself. GSI's models have now predicted and helped contain 12 potential outbreaks. We're developing AI systems that can identify new pathogens within days of emergence. We're training the next generation of pandemic responders. When the next pandemic comes, and it will come, the world will be more prepared. Not because of my magazine cover, but because of systems built quietly over years by people who saw problems others couldn't. I'm Dr. Sarah Chin. I run an $800 million pandemic prevention organization. I was dismissed as unemployed by my own family while saving millions of lives. I'm Time Magazine's Person of the Year. But more importantly, I'm someone who learned that external validation, from family, from magazines, from anyone, is nice but not necessary. I learned that doing meaningful work is its own reward. That being underestimated is sometimes an advantage. That walking away from tables that don't value you isn't failure. It's freedom. My family sees me now. Finally. But I'd already learned to see myself. And that's the only recognition I truly needed.